Hi guys, how you doing? It's Megan here. I'm going to talk to you about Chapter 9, focusing specifically on Common Core. With that being said, this is something that I'm very passionate about, but I'm confused on what to be passionate about. I have very strong feelings on the pros, and I have very strong feelings on the cons, so we'll start with that. So one of the pros that I found, I did teaching.about.com for my resources, kind of gave a list of pros and cons regarding Common Core. The first pro that I found was Common Core focuses on higher level thinking skills. And I think this is very important. I noticed that with Common Core, it focuses on the why. Like, why are we doing math this way? Why does this algorithm work? And I think that's very important because kids at a very early age, starting at 2 or 3, always ask the question, why? Why? So I think by teaching why we are doing things to solve answers and how we are getting the answers is going to be beneficial in the long run, because students are going to understand more of how they got the answer and why we did it that way, instead of just plugging in an algorithm and hoping they get the right answer. Another pro that I found is the benchmark scoring is relatable internationally. And I think that's important because students, the United States is not ranking as high as we would probably like to be. So by being able to compare our scores on a more equal basis, then we would be able to know really where we are and kind of figure out what we need to do to get our numbers up a little bit higher. Another pro that I found that I really liked is, since Common Core is the same throughout the United States, it's going to be a good collaboration tool for teachers. So if you're in a small school like I was, being able to ask someone from another school or even another state kind of ideas of how they are handling Common Core and how they're incorporating it in their classroom, it'll just be a great collaboration tool for teachers to use, so we can kind of brainstorm and get better ideas of how to better support our students. Now, with that being said, I don't know that the same standards should be the same throughout the United States. I mean, we just read a chapter about how socioeconomic status and home life and peer influence has the biggest effect on students' achievement. So I just don't know if it's fair, if you will, to compare scores to small town Red Cloud, Nebraska to a school in New York where the socioeconomic status is a lot higher. They have other, their home life is different. I mean, people in New York are not going to be doing the same things that people in Nebraska are doing, that are doing the same things that people in California are doing. So having an overall generalized set of standards, I don't know, is most beneficial to show growth for each state or each even town. I mean, comparing Red Cloud to Omaha is they're going to have different home lives, they're going to have different socioeconomic statuses, and I just feel like maybe that's not the best way to judge growth and improvement. And another con that I have is, like I said, comparing the different schools from different areas. I think that there's just a better way to determine growth, but with the federal government dictating the standards, you can't have each individualized set of standards for different. I mean, we've never seen a test like that, like a test for lower socioeconomic students, or, and I just think that that's not fair, because it's not all on a level playing field. Like, you aren't going to make a student come into your classroom who needs glasses. You aren't going to make everybody remove their glasses just so everything is the same, because the students who need glasses to see need that support, and they need that that help from their glasses, if you will, to perform better in school. That goes on to my next con that I feel. The Common Core only focuses on English and math. And as a teacher, we all know that not all of our students are going to have jobs where they are involved with math, and they're not going to have jobs just involved with English. And I mean, as a teacher, I think it's great to think that someday your students are going to be a historian or an archaeologist, or, something that has to do with the sciences and social studies. And with such a big emphasis on math and English, I think that we're going to lose some of our students because they're not going to be interested in that. And I think we need to take a step back and realize that science and social studies has an impact on where our students are going in the future, their future jobs and what they want to do. And I think that that's something that's really important. I mean, if all of our focus is on English and math, are we going to see a decline of doctors and scientists and, all those professions that have influences of science and even social studies, the history of where things came from and why they worked the way. Our future politicians, if they're not going to be focused on the history, are we just going to start making the same mistakes, history repeating itself? And I know that it does, but that's just the point that I'm trying to make, is if we have so much emphasis on math and science, where do the other subjects come into play? The last con that I can think of is the increased value on standardized testing. I mean, I feel like teachers now are focusing on teaching to the test. As awful as that is to say, just being a first-year teacher, I see so much emphasis and value on test scores and where our schools are scoring and how well they're doing. And I think that is not always the only method that you should choose to assess your students. But with more and more stress on standardized testing, teachers are going to feel an obligation to teach the test, because we only have so many hours a day to, focus on those standards. As for the government being involved in our classroom, I feel like this is a situation where, any job that you have, I have my cosmetology license, and, people are making rules who aren't in the salon, and I feel like it's the same way with education. People who are making the rules for education aren't always involved in the classroom. And I think it's really hard for people, even as an administrator, to make rules for classrooms when you have no idea how the classroom runs or what's going on and what an everyday classroom environment looks like. I think it's very hard to make rules when you're not in the classroom or in the salon, knowing exactly how it goes day in and day out. I think it's an unfair advantage for our congressmen and women to be making rules when a lot of them haven't been involved in the classroom, haven't been on the basic level. And so, but it also goes back to, they're forking over the money, so they get to have a say. It's like I'm getting married, and with my wedding, my parents are helping me out, so I kind of have to listen to what my mom says, because, she's footing some of the bill, so I feel obligated to, please her and do what she asks. And I think that's the same thing with the federal government being involved in our school. They're footing some of the bill, so we kind of got to do what they want and please them. And I think that maybe a way to get our school back is to be involved and to have a voice and be active, and, not just have the idea that, oh, we're just teachers, what can we do, but being involved and being a part of, the people who help to make the decisions and have your voices being heard. in the government, I think will be beneficial and hopefully will help to make a difference so everything's more on the level playing field. So I'm sorry that if it sounded like I got on my soapbox, but like I said, it's something that I'm passionate about and something that I've been giving a lot of thought about. So I'd like to hear what you think, so let me know. Thanks, guys.